19.2 is all about safety considerations during outdoor activities, and I've chosen 4 activities that I'm going to weigh up the safety considerations needed. So bouldering is one. It's a rawer version of rock climbing, which you use less equipment. Bouldering equipment only includes like climbing shoes and chalk used to aid grip, with safety mats used to break the fall. Artificial climbing walls are also available for athletes to train on without having to travel and look for perfect boulders to improve their skills on. There's a risk assessment for bouldering. Loose boulders on the frame can cause participants to fall, and there's a risk to everyone. Boulders are checked and tightened before each turn. Should be a control in place to stop this from happening. Instructors must check the grips are tightened and climb ball themselves, so like test run the frame and the grips. Risk rating of 6 because of how the likelihood is quite high and the severity is sort of like medium. Another one, climber can bang their head on the boulder above them. The climber's at risk to this, but before they begin the route, they should like plan out the suitable route they should take. They're coloured on the frames, but this is probably more difficult when you're out naturally bouldering on natural rocks and stuff. You won't have that route to climb, so you'll have to assess the situation for yourself. It's quite unlikely to happen on the climbing frame because of how they tell you the instructors will be there to tell you that they know the climbing frame and where you're most likely to be injured. But again, in natural areas, you won't really have an instructor maybe, and there'll be sharper edges on the rocks and stuff, and you'll be more susceptible to bang your head and injure yourself. However, there are procedures and considerations in bouldering because emergency may still occur due to the low amounts of protective gear you have, because you only have that chalk and maybe climbing shoes. Some incidents may become serious. For example, someone may fall awkwardly on their arm, leg, or their body from the climbing frame or rock face. This may result in a broken arm, broken leg, or broken ribs. In this case, you will need to go through a procedure of checking the area in case there are any other dangers. The climber may have failed due to a rock fall, which may be ongoing, and this will create a risk of you getting injured or other climbers around them becoming injured if they go and help the climber. Determining location and taking in surroundings is very important in this case, as the injured climber may still be at risk, so you may not be able to leave them to go and find help yet. You may not be able to call emergency services due to being in a rural location and having no service on mobile phones. Once any ongoing danger has passed, however, you can then begin first aid by tending the affected area by stopping any bleeding, keeping the broken area still, like the bone may have protruded through the skin, which we call bleeding. You can then head back to any nearby civilization to get help and show emergency services where the injured person is. If the injury is too serious, you may need to send up a flare so that nearby walkers or adventurous climbers, any people, can see the flare and come to help. Continuously used boulders can also erode and cause environmental damage, which may prove a hazard to other climbers as there's less grip on the rock. And to stop this, geographical experts should survey the areas most notorious for climbing and put signs up against the rocks that may be unsuitable and have less grip. Another sport, skiing, and this is a way of transportation, but in the modern era now, it's a hugely competitive winter sport. Involves gliding down snowy mountains in order to get back down to the bottom. This could be extremely dangerous and many injuries can occur when participating. However, there is safety equipment that is compulsory to be worn and keep you protected, because the speed you're going at is much different from bouldering. And this equipment includes a helmet to prevent the high-speed head injuries, especially with many obstacles such as other skiers, there's rocks and there's trees around. Goggles used to keep a clear eyesight, so less risk of crashing when you lose visuals. Weather up top of mountains can change very rapidly, and it could be stuck in a blizzard or snowstorms. Even high winds can blow snow or debris into your eyes. Cold weather protection, such as winter jackets and thermals and salopettes to wear on your legs, are all needed to prevent hypothermia, really. There is a skiing assessment. If there is a chance you fall off the ski lift because of how the bar isn't like in front of you at all the time. When you get on, you have to close it yourself. And although it may be uncommon, it could cause a serious injury, really. So you must make sure the bar is brought down to stop yourself falling out. But before the piste opens, operators must check that each chair is working and the bar is efficiently running, so it's not going to like jolt and slow down, because this can cause injury quite easily. Another problem may be being not prepared for the freezing cold temperatures, and you can get hypothermia because you don't have that thermal equipment. So you need to wear extra layers for better insulation when up high on the mountains and weather is severe. You need to have weather warnings in place, like the instructors or experts on top of the mountain, so that all skiers will know how the weather is up high and how they expect it to change, so they can quickly prepare for when they're up the top. And there's some more there. Procedures and considerations. If any other of the risks from that assessment occur in skiing, and broken bones are very likely, and it's quite a common injury. I've seen it happen a few times. If the injury occurs on the piste slowly, you can ski over towards the injured person and ask what they think they have injured. You need to quickly use your skis to create a cross above the injured patient on the mountainside, so ongoing skiers can evade them. Many skiers carry a card which will have numbers for the emergency mountain services, including the air ambulance. So others may approach you to hand over the number for help. And in this case, the helicopter will need to be given exact locations. There will also be a group of people on skidoos to assist the landing of the chopper. However, this assistance may not be available for at least an hour, so you need to make sure the person is in a comfortable position and warm on top of the mountain. So use blankets for them to lay on to keep them at homeostasis. A common annoyance on the slope is litter, and this does not just cause environmental damage to wildlife, such as the wolves and deers and goats eating it and just causing damage to them, but skiers can also collide with the litter and seriously injure themselves. There's a picture on the slide which is on the bottom, which is an Asian ski resort that is absolutely covered in litter right on the slope. But to stop this, it could be like a punishment, or such as a fine or a loss of the ski pass for the day if this happens, or if you're caught. Or you can place ski bins across like the mountain itself along the piste, but you need to be a fair distance away, obviously, otherwise collisions are more likely. Surfing is another sport. Oh, I'm sorry for the picture, I should have changed it, but like skiing, surfing requires you to glide over a surface, in this instance water, using a single surfboard. However, in order to gain momentum and speed to surf, you will need to ride the wave by standing on the surfboard when a wave is rolling towards the shore. The sport is done in the ocean as the waves are there, and some can be more challenging for elite performers. The size of waves can be daunting and very dangerous, yet there is minimal safety equipment for surfers. Surfboards can often collide with the surfers and cause serious injuries, but there is a leash attached to the surfboard which is used to minimise the damage and distance that surfboard will travel. Surf wax is also used on top of the board to improve grip, so you're less likely to fall off. And as this risk assessment shows, jagged rocks are a problem, so they should surf in open water where there's no rocks. So event organisers and the surfers themselves must know the area well, make sure that dangerous areas are noticeable when they're well away from them. Shark attack is a really unlikely one, but it has happened. Like there's a picture in the next slide from, I think it's an American or Australian guy who gets attacked during a competition. So like controls in place you need to surf away from the areas well known for sharks. Event organisers must take this into account, given the past records, must mark these dangerous areas and not have surfers anywhere near notorious shark areas. But surfing carries a huge risk due to the unpredictability of the sea. Where there are big waves, there is a huge danger and there are precautions that need to be taken. If a surfer goes down under the water, it is likely they'll be dragged around by the waves, and this could mean that their lungs take on board water. This means that there will be a boat that patrols the surface water nearby which have a close eye on all surfaces in case one does not reappear from the water. In this emergency, the boat will quickly head over to the surface as soon as they're off the board so they don't sink. The boat will go as quickly as they can, but if there are other surfers nearby, this may slow down the process. As soon as the surfer is dragged to the surface with an experienced lifeguard and a buoy, you must lay them in the recovery position, as this will mean that the water that has been consumed can exit the body and clear the surfer's airways. Despite the unlikelihood of the shark had previously, there have been previous encounters during the surfing camps. The shape of the boards are the shape of the boards attract the sharks as they think it's food, like seals. This means that not only humans are at risk, but the shark itself may be hurt by the board's fin, or just by swallowing or chewing a piece of the board. As the risk assessment said, no surfer should be near these areas just to avoid any of these complications. Final sport, however, motocross, cross-country race that has participated on motorcycles. This would usually be performed across a dirt track with jumps and obstacles inserted to bring an extra challenge and excitement when racing. With some dirt bikes reaching top speeds of 125 miles per hour, there is safety equipment that needs to be worn. Because of the high speed, you're obligated to wear a helmet to protect your brain, as there are many ways in which the head is at risk. I'll show you some in the risk statement later. Due to these obstacles, the likelihood of falling from the bike is high, so it is important to you that you wear this bike suit in order to stop your skin being grazed, and the visors on the helmet as well are important just to stop any dirt from entering your eyes and blocking your vision. Climbing with other motorists is quite I should have put the risk rating up, I reckon, like maybe 7, just because of how likely it is to happen. And it can cause a bit of danger with legs all unravelled and bikes and stuff. It can get a bit severe. So they must make sure that protection is worn, like the bike suits, as they may fall off. Event organiser and other rider must check that each of the other motorists have this compulsory equipment. Otherwise, they should not be allowed to ride. And the loss of vision in the dirt, motorists must wear goggles so that their eyes are protected. Motorists must be checked that this equipment is present and used at all times. Otherwise, there could be a bit of punishment, such as bike suspension or disqualification from the comp, so they can't ride anymore. There are procedures and considerations, such as how, because motorsport isn't a popular sport, motocross isn't a popular sport, such as skiing or surfing, which means that the sport is done more rurally. It takes longer to get the help, just like bouldering does. This ultimately means that there will be more first aid needed. If an injury occurs, such as concussion, then precautions need to be made. The injury may seem worse at first, and you will need to look after the neck, as this is a delicate area that can be affected by head injuries and slight injuries like that. The best thing to do is keep the rider very still so the head and neck is not jolted, or so no more injury is caused. Motocross can be done when the weather is rainy and cold, which means that if this is the case, the injured motorist is kept warm, as they cannot produce the heat themselves as they exaggerate the injury. Collisions with environmental objects such as trees may cause serious head injuries and may make them unconscious. In this case, you must check that their airway is open. This may need for them to be moved onto their slide very slowly. Very slowly, otherwise that neck injury can be exaggerated if there is one, but you won't know until emergency services are there. It's easy to fall off the bike as of the dirt can make the track unstable, and although the bikes are used to gripping onto the dirt, sometimes if it's wet or cold or frozen, you can easily slip. This is due to how the constant biking will completely tear up the grass and the greenery, as the bottom picture shows. And to stop this increased damaged ground, already created motocross terrain and tracks should be used more consistently, and instead of creating new tracks which may prove more dangerous due to how it's new and not many people have rode on it, and there's not much terrain safety evaluation. No one really knows the dangers that can happen on that course. Done.